1,000 stories of what they think you're like, but I've heard the tender whisper of love in the dead of night, and you tell me that you're pleased and that I'm never alone. You're a good, good father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. I've seen many searching for answers far and wide, but I know we're all searching for answers only you provide, because you know just what we need before we say a word. You're a good, good father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. Love so undeniable, I can hardly speak. Peace so unexplainable, I can hardly think as you call me. Deeper still as you call me. Deeper still as you call me. Deeper still into love, love, love. You're a good, good father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You're a good, good father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am.
Well, good morning and welcome to Lake Ridge Community Church and our online worship service together. Usually on Sunday mornings we gather together in a space, and we love seeing each other. We love greeting each other and welcoming each other into our worship experience, but we continue to have to wait it out, maybe only for a little while longer, but we'll have some more information about that as things unfold. But for now, welcome community, welcome church, welcome our family to this time of worship this morning. We hope that wherever you are, whatever your plans are for today, that you will get a sense that God is with you, that you are part of a community, a body of believers who put their faith in Jesus, and that together we know that God is doing something, and that this chapter in our story as a community is one where God is more active and more present to us than maybe we have known. And so our work this morning is to attend to the work of God in our hearts and to the work of God in this community and in our city. Be of good courage, my friends, and welcome to worship this morning. If you are joining us online live on Facebook, it's a good time for you to check and find out where the comment section is and say hi. Greet one another and Also, afterwards, hopefully, or today, we will have a Zoom call. It's a chance for us to just speak with each other face to face. Pastor Evan will be hosting that. So, lots going on this morning, and we welcome you. Welcome.
Lord, I come, I confess, bowing here, I find my rest. Without you, I fall apart. You're the one that guides my heart. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. Where sin runs deep, your grace is more. Where grace is found is where you are. And where you are, Lord, I am free. Holiness is Christ in me. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. So teach my song to rise to you. When temptation comes my way, when I cannot stand, I'll fall on you. Jesus, you're my hope and stay. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. You're my one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. You're my one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you.
Hey there, Lake Ridge. It's Pastor Evan here. And hey, I just got a couple of quick announcements for you to be thinking about this next couple of weeks. The first is with Kenny's announcement yesterday, we as a leadership team are spending some time just thinking and praying and trying to discuss, what's the best way to relaunch Lake Ridge and kind of get ourselves back together again, and what does that look like in kind of a Lake Ridge way. So be praying for us as we do that, and hopefully some news and information about all that stuff will be coming in the next several weeks. The second is we are excited about having another membership class. We've set a date of June the 13th at 9 a.m. on Sunday morning, and hoping that maybe you might consider joining us in our endeavor to love this community well, and to do that specifically by becoming a member at Lake Ridge. We'd love to have you kind of join us, get a chance to hear a little bit about our family of churches, and then also about the Lake Ridge story. And then there's an application and some other things like that. So we'd love to have you think about being a part of that. I hope that you are enjoying the outdoors like I am today. It is beautiful, beautiful today. So a couple more things. Our youth are still gathering on Zoom, 7 p.m. Tuesday nights. You can find the link at our website. You can even follow the youth at Lake Ridge Youth on Instagram. And Eric sometimes does the occasional humorous thing on there. Can you imagine Eric being funny? I know, it's strange to me too, but sometimes it happens. And then the last thing, we always love when you consider giving, and you have given to Lake Ridge in so many ways this year, and it has been a tremendous gift to us that we haven't been flush with cash, but we have had the peace that God is still doing what he's doing here and providing the resources we need to love our community. So hey, I hope that you have spent some time in this beautiful weather this week to get out and get to know some of your neighbors, maybe even mow someone's lawn, or care for somebody like it seems like my neighbor is doing right now. We miss you, we love you, and we are looking forward to the chance for us to be back together again. Again, when you join us, make a comment in the comments section. If you like what you're hearing, share it, like it, all those kinds of things. It's helpful for us to get feedback like that as well. I hope that you're having a great week. And if you're available today, join us in the Zoom call afterwards. We've been talking about Jesus and life, soul, and a bunch of other cool stuff. So love to have you join us there. Have a good week.
Darkness tries to roll over my bones, when sorrow comes to steal the joy I own, when brokenness and pain is all I know, I won't be shaken, no, I won't be shaken, 'cause my fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. The shame no longer has a place to hide. I am not a captive to the lies. I'm not afraid to leave my past behind. No, I won't be shaken. No, I won't be shaken. 'Cause my fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. Oh, there's power that can break off every chain. There's power that can lift you out of grave. There's resurrection power that can save. There's power in your name. There's power in your name. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. Oh, standing in your love. And my fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love.
Good morning, Lake Ridge. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. And please feel free to say hi and comment in the comments. We would love to interact with you. I am Natasha Bax and I am here to share some scripture with you. You may hear my cat while I do so, as this is my 10th take because he keeps meowing. So it's going to be what it's going to be. And I am going to share with you 1 Peter 1, 6 through 9. In all this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while you may have had to suffer grief in all kinds of trials. These have come so that the proven genuineness of your faith, of greater worth than gold, which perishes even though refined by fire, may result in praise, glory, and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed. Though you may not have seen him, you love him. And even though you do not see him now, you believe in him and are filled with an inexpressible and glorious joy. For you are receiving the end result of your faith, the salvation of your souls. Thank you, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. See you soon.
Well, friends, good morning once again to our service. We are continuing the second of our sermon series, One on One, where we are exploring the relationship, this one-on-one dynamic relationship that we have with God. We're doing that this morning by talking a great deal about the ways that Jesus had one-on-one connections with people that he met. Pastor Evans spoke last week about how Jesus met a woman at the well who could barely believe that God would have time for her. And yet Jesus comes into her story and reminds her what this relationship with God is like. And we can pay attention to all the ways that God then begins to meet us in a one-on-one relationship, that we can have a life of prayer and listening and reflection and responsive conversation with God who loves us. And then this whole series leads us into this big question. What does it look like for us to have meaningful, Jesus-like one-on-one relationships and connections with those around us? To go deeper in our conversations, to go deeper in our care and attentiveness to the work of God in each other's lives. Are we forever stuck in small talk limbo, or can we have deeper conversations about the things that really matter to us? Hey, the story that we're going to be taking a look at today is the story of Peter denying Jesus. Now, this might seem like an odd one-on-one interaction. It's a story of separation, actually. It's a story of Peter no longer being close to Jesus, and in his fear and anxiety and loneliness, in this moment of pressure, he says, I don't know Jesus. We're going to take a look at that and see how Jesus responds to Peter, what Jesus does in Peter's life, and what Jesus was doing for Peter right in the moments when he was at his depth of denial. There's a lot going on in this story, and so we're going to actually read this story together from two different Gospels. We're going to take a look at the way that Luke tells this story, and then we're going to take a look at the way that John tells this story, and we're going to weave them together, and I think it'll reveal something very powerful about what Jesus says about his friends and the relationships that he wants to have with them. So let's explore this together this morning. So we're going to take a look at Luke 22:31. This is where Jesus says to Peter that you are going to deny me. And listen to how this goes. So Simon, Simon, this is another name for Peter. Satan has asked to sift each of you like wheat. But I have pleaded in prayer for you, Simon, that your faith should not fail. So when you've repented and turned to me again, strengthen your brothers. Well, Peter said, Lord, I'm ready to go to prison with you and even die with you. But Jesus says, Peter, let me tell you something. Before the rooster crows tomorrow morning, you will deny me 3 times that you even know me. What a fascinating moment around a table that Jesus says to Peter, you are going to deny me. Peter, of course, denies it. You see, Peter has a meaningful relationship with Jesus. Peter has walked on water at Jesus' invitation. He has seen angelic visions. He has experienced the power and majesty of Jesus. He sat through every one of Jesus' sermons. Peter is resolved in his heart that no matter what happens to Jesus, Peter's going to be right beside him. I love Peter's gumption in this. But it's predicated on this one thing. It's that he's close to Jesus. Every single moment that Peter has seen something happen with Jesus, he's been physically close. He has seen Jesus with his eyes do these things, and his faith was based on what he could see, not on what he couldn't see. And so, of course, he's saying, whatever happens to you, Jesus, I'm going to be with you. And Jesus knows better. Jesus says, you are going to deny me. But he even sets him up for redemption. He says, I pleaded in prayer that your faith should not fail, so that when you repented and turned to me again, strengthen your brothers. So he's already saying, I've been praying for you, but I know that you're going to fail. I know it. Jesus isn't in the dark on this one. Peter is going to fail, but he's praying that when he repents, when he's made right again, which is going to happen after, that he would be the one then to encourage his brothers. What an interesting twist. Anyway, we're going to see how this unfolds. There's a lot going on. So, the story continues on. So they arrested him, and this is Jesus, and led him to the high priest's home, and Peter followed at a distance. The guards lit a fire in the middle of the courtyard and sat around it, and Peter joined them there. A servant girl noticed him in the firelight and began staring at him. Finally, she said, this man was one of Jesus' followers. But Peter denied it. Woman, he said, I don't even know him. After a while, someone else looked at him and said, you must be one of them. No, I'm not, Peter retorted. But an hour later, someone else insisted, this must be one of them because he's a Galilean too. But Peter said, man, I don't know what you're talking about. And immediately while he was speaking, the rooster crowed. At that moment, the Lord turned and looked at Peter. And suddenly the Lord's words flashed through Peter's mind. Before the rooster crows tomorrow morning, you will deny 3 times that you even know me. And Peter left the courtyard weeping bitterly. The guards in charge of Jesus began mocking and beating him. They blindfolded him and said, prophesy, who hit you this time? And they hurled all sorts of terrible insults at him. What a remarkable story. Here's Peter, he denies Jesus, and then, talk about a knife to the heart, he makes eye contact with Jesus. He's close enough to where this is happening that Jesus and Peter can make eye contact. They can see each other, and it's likely that Jesus even heard his own friend Peter deny him, who just hours before was saying, I'm going to go to the wall for you. And he looks him in the eye. Man, can you imagine that? I would be gutted for the rest of my life. I'd be gutted to know that I denied not only my friend, but the one that I say is God himself, the Messiah, the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, all this stuff Peter has said. And then he says, I don't know this man. And Jesus looks at him. Another version of this story happens in John 18. Just to round out some the way that this story goes, John 18:12. Listen to the way John tells this same moment, because John was close to the action too. So the soldiers, their commanding officer, and the temple guards arrested Jesus and tied him up. First, they took him to Annas, the father-in-law of Caiaphas. This is going to be important. We are going to come back. John gives some really good details as to what's going on here. So first they take him to Annas, the father-in-law of Caiaphas, the high priest at that time. Caiaphas was the one who had told the other Jewish leaders, it's better for one man to die. It's better that one man should die for the people. So Simon Peter followed Jesus, as did another of the disciples. The other disciple was acquainted with the high priest, so he was allowed to enter the high priest's courtyard with Jesus. Well, Peter had to stay outside the gate. Then the disciple who knew the high priest spoke to the woman watching the gate, and she let Peter in. The woman asked Peter, "Oh, you're not one of that man's disciples, are you?" "No," he said, "I am not." Because it was cold, the household servants and the guards had made a charcoal fire. They stood around it, warming themselves, and Peter stood with them, warming himself. Inside, the high priest began asking Jesus about the followers and what he had been teaching them. Jesus replied, "Everyone knows what I've taught. I have preached regularly in the synagogues and the temple where the people gather. I have not spoken in secret. Why are you asking me this question? Ask those who heard me. They know what I said." Then one of the temple guards standing nearby slapped Jesus across the face. "Is that how you should answer the high priest?" he demanded. And Jesus replied, "If I said anything wrong, you must prove it. But if I'm speaking the truth, why are you beating me?" Then Annas bound Jesus and sent him to Caiaphas, the high priest. Meanwhile, Simon Peter was standing by the fire warming himself, and they asked him again, "Are you not one of his disciples, are you?" He denied it again, "No, I am not." But one of the household slaves of the high priest, a relative of the man whose ear Peter had cut off, asked, "Didn't I see you out there in the olive grove with Jesus?" Again, Peter denied it, and immediately a rooster crowed. Picture this. Here is Peter, again, not far off, standing around a fire, warming himself with these people who've kind of gathered around. Jesus is in this space. He's being questioned. He's being slapped around. He's bleeding. And he's denying that he knows Jesus. He's afraid. But this is interesting. The conversation that Jesus is having is Jesus is standing in the gap. Jesus is being asked, "You have followers, don't you?" Jesus could have pointed and said, "Yeah, there's one of them. He said that he's going to die for me. Bring Peter in." No. He doesn't throw his followers under the bus. He's bleeding and getting beat up, and Peter isn't. He's being falsely accused, and Peter is not. He's about to go and be crucified for Peter. Here in this moment, Peter is feeling alone. He's afraid. Jesus is on the court bench, and he is on the sidelines, and he is terrorized with fear. He doesn't know what is going to happen, and suddenly his faith and his courage, it withers, and he gets to the point where he says, "I don't even know him." But all the while, listen to what Jesus is doing. Jesus is standing in the gap for Peter. Jesus is covering for Peter. Even while he can hear Peter's denial, Jesus is standing in for whatever should also be coming towards Peter. This is what Jesus does with his friends, even friends who deny him. He stands in the gap, and that gap is even going to stand between life and death for Peter and for you and for me. There's this piece of art by Oleg Shurkus. It's an icon of St. Peter. And look at this picture. I think it's beautiful. There is Peter sitting beside a fire, a little charcoal fire. The light of his life, Jesus, is away, gone, being persecuted over in another space. And here in the midst of it all, he's sitting by this little other fire, this little charcoal fire that's supposed to be giving him warmth and heat, and it is just not the same. And around it, he's denying Jesus. Around this other fire, around this other heat source, he is denying his friend who is the light of the world. And he's sitting there, and in this picture, he's alone and afraid, and he's in this fetal position. And what's up in the corner? It's this accuser. It's this rooster who's crowing, mockingly almost, pointing out his failure as a friend. He is truly alone. He feels alone. And here he sits. I think it's a beautiful icon. And in it we can see perhaps ourselves. While Peter is alone and feels like he does no longer have a one-on-one relationship, Jesus is doing something for Peter. Jesus is no less active in not only doing something for Peter, but he is making a way so that Peter can continue to have a one-on-one relationship with him. Through the death and resurrection of Jesus, Peter will be able to be friends with Jesus forever. What a beautiful picture of what Jesus does when we feel alone. When we are by a fire and we just do not know where Jesus is found. When we are in a pandemic and we do not know where Jesus is found, guess where Jesus is? He is standing between us and the thing that's trying to hurt us, and he is making a way for us to continue to have a relationship with him. Even if the words out of our mouth are ones of denial, ones of fear, ones of anxiety, whatever we are speaking, even if it's false and it's lies, Jesus is making a way. This is good news for us. The story of the denial of Peter is a story of Jesus' faithfulness to us in our denial. In the 1970s, when they were digging up part of Jerusalem, in the Jewish quarter, what did they find? They found this beautiful palace. You see, what happened was in about 70 AD, historians say that the Romans came in and they were so fed up with the leaders of Jerusalem that they demolished the place. They burnt the place. And Josephus, a historian, he wrote and he said that Annas, the person in this story, that person's house was burnt too in this moment. And that this high priest's home was burnt and destroyed. Well, these archaeologists in the 70s, they found this place, and they found that it was, in fact, a home of a high priest. Scientists are starting to put the pieces together, and they believe that this could be the very place where Peter denied Jesus. There's one part of this home, you can see in the picture here, there's one part of this home where it is like a courtyard. Or a outside courtyard and an inner kind of gathering place. You could almost picture a reception hall for the wealthy Sadducee elite of the temple culture. And in this place, the Bible says it is here that Jesus was put on trial at Annas' house before he was moved to Caiaphas's and then off to a bunch of other people. He was ferried around all throughout the night. But here in this one of these first places, there's a courtyard just outside. It's a place that's outside under the stars, and you could imagine that this is a place where people would gather. Well, I went and I stood here. And I stood here, and there's a place you can stand where you're in the courtyard and you're looking through a door. There's a picture, this isn't my picture, it's another one I found, but you're looking through the door and you can see right in to this reception hall. This place where they believe Jesus was held on trial. And as I stood there on Peter's side and I looked in and I could just imagine. I could imagine Jesus being in there, on trial, being falsely accused, and looking out at his friend Peter, who's just denied him, overhearing him deny, and seeing him, and knowing what he is doing on this night is for Peter. So that in this moment of him being separate from his friend, Jesus is doing something so they can be together. So their relationship can be mended and be made whole. It was very moving. How have you ever felt alone? Have you ever felt like Jesus is a long ways off? That your one-on-one relationship with God, wherever God is somehow not real or true, or maybe he isn't even listening to you when you pray, let alone you hearing him. Maybe you've been there before. Maybe you're there now. Maybe you're like Peter, where if someone said to you today, do you know this Jesus guy? You'd say, I don't know him. I'm afraid. How does God meet us in our aloneness? Well, the story of Peter denying Jesus around one fire is deeply changed and around another fire. After Jesus dies and is resurrected, he shows up several different times to his followers, but one key meeting happens. And it's Peter, they are out fishing, and Jesus is on the shore, and he had a charcoal fire. And he calls his disciples, and Peter is one of the ones to jump in first and run towards his friend. And there's Jesus with his charcoal fire. I think Jesus knows what he's doing here. He has a charcoal fire, and on it he has some fish. He's cooking him breakfast. And he says to his friend Peter, he says, do you love me? 3 times. Peter denied him 3 times, and Jesus says 3 times, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Because I heard 3 times you deny me, and I'm going to give you 3 times to repeal those. And every time he says, I love you, I love you, I love you. And so Jesus says, now go and feed my sheep. Go and turn around. The same grace I gave you when you denied me, I have made a way for me to be in relationship with you around this fire, and I have redeemed our relationship. Our one-on-one is together again. Now go, Peter, and go and make one-on-one relationships happen with others. Find the lost sheep. Find those who are away and help them have a one-on-one relationship with me too. And he does. He's given his purpose and his calling, and he does. He's made right with Jesus, and he's made right with others. Do you want a one-on-one relationship with Jesus? Well, I think Jesus at any time is working behind the scenes to make it so. It's who Jesus is, and it's what he is doing. And while you might think that Jesus is far away, that he isn't paying attention to what you're going through in this pandemic, in this job loss, in this relationship breakdown, whatever it is, I think Jesus is just in the other room now, making a way for you and for me to have a relationship with him and to mend relationships beyond. I'm going to end with this, full of scripture this morning. And it's with this. It's the way that Jesus talks about his friends. Jesus loves being your friend. That's the premise of the one-on-one relationship, is his friendship with you. He calls his followers his friends. It says this in John 15. This is my commandment, love each other in the same way I have loved you. There's no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you slaves, because a master doesn't confide in his slaves. Now you are my friends, since I've told you everything the Father told me. You didn't choose me, I chose you. I appointed you to go and produce lasting fruit, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask for using my name. This is my command. Love each other. Friends, Jesus has made a way for you to be a friend. There's a spiritual discipline called spiritual friendship, where we actually view ourselves as both a friend to Jesus, but then we turn around and we foster beautiful friendships with other people too. We can do this because Jesus has chosen us to be his friend, and we now have a way of saying, that's what a friendship looks like. Now I can foster that friendship between me and other people too. I believe that it's in the friendships we have around us, in these meaningful friendships that we foster and care for, that we go deeper and deeper into, that we sacrifice for, that we give towards. I believe that it's in those friendships that we begin to taste what it is to have, again, a one-on-one relationship with Jesus. Jesus was always tying for Peter, his friendship with Peter, to the fact that Peter is now invited to go and forge relationships with others. So my friends, Jesus did not leave Peter alone. He was in another room for a time, but he was making a way for Peter to be with Jesus forever. I believe that's what Jesus is doing in us even now. No matter what our trials or tribulations, no matter what our pains or our fears, Jesus is at work making a way for us to have a relationship with him, to have a meaningful one-on-one relationship with him. In fact, today, he might be making a way for you to have a relationship with him, even if you are unaware or even if you are denying Jesus in your pain or your fear. He is near. He sees you, and he is covering for you. He's got your back. And that's the good news of Jesus. So may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and grant you his peace. He is with you.